Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob G coming at you. Today is day 100, and tonight's post is all about reflecting on what has occurred over the last 100 days to help me get to where I am today. This morning, I weighed in at 489 pounds, which puts me officially at 111 pounds down in 100 days. And I know that sounds like a lot, and it is, and it's a big accomplishment, so I definitely pat myself on the back. But it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of something greater that I am striving for. As I look back on the journey that started on December 26, 2010, I recall just getting to that breaking point. Each and every one of us is going to come to a point where we break, and we've said we've had enough. I cannot do this anymore. And when you get to that point, it's really important that you put your plan together to ensure that you're going to be successful. For example, I knew from previous trainings that I've had with like personal trainers and my doctors in the past that you don't want to eat anything fried. You want to make sure that you are, preparing your food, that you're exercising regularly. So I just started going back to a lot of the lessons that I learned over the years that I really didn't follow because I was in denial. So I remember that fateful night on December 26th, sitting there with my wife, and we were eating dinner. We ordered some Carrabba's, and I just had my breaking point. And I said, you know what? I'll eat this chicken cutlet, which was delicious, by the way, but I was not willing to eat the bread because I said bread has been one of my enemies. I also watched my portion size, and right when we were done with dinner, I said, you know what, I'm going to take a walk. And it was cold outside, and it was freezing and so forth, but I said enough's enough. So I went outside, and I took the dog for a walk. And early the next morning, it had to be like 35 degrees here in Florida, which doesn't happen that often. But I took the dog for a walk, and we went around the block for the first time, because all I would do is normally take the dog to the corner, let her go to the bathroom, and head back. But I made the decision to walk around the block. And it sounds so, what, just around the block, it's a big deal. But when you're 600 pounds, everything's a big deal. So one of the videos I've included below are one of my early videos where, I was huffing and puffing. When I listened to the video, I'm in amazement. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm around the block. I didn't realize how heavy I was breathing. So all that, extra weight was on my heart, on my lungs, and wasn't good. Fast forward a little bit, and I started to, go to the store more often, going to Publix, getting some Publix chicken, which is good, but has a lot of sodium, and I'm very sodium sensitive. If I eat a little salt, all this, I puff up. So I got to definitely watch the salt, and more importantly, keep my blood pressure down. When I got to work that week, I made a decision to start making some small changes. For example, start walking up the stairs. So I started taking the stairs, and let me tell you, that was a nightmare. Even to this day, it's still tough. But, I committed to myself. This was very important, and I knew I had to make some sacrifices, so I started taking the stairs. Also, another commitment was not to eat late. I made sure that if I was going to eat, I was going to cut my eating off by 7 p.m., maybe 8 p.m., and that's it. I'm notorious for eating as late as midnight or maybe 1 in the morning, and that's bad because obviously those calories stay on you overnight and you're not moving for 8 hours or 7 hours, what have you, so it wasn't good. So I stopped eating late. Next commitment, start drinking more water. My goal was to get to at least a gallon a day, and I made that commitment and started drinking more water, and in the first week I got up to right around close to half a gallon of water a day. Wasn't at a gallon right away, but slowly but surely, I was going to work my way up. So far, the changes I made was not to eat late. I wasn't going to just go out and eat fast food and Taco Bell and all the other crap that I've been eating. I just started to make my food. and I started drinking more water. So those are some of the slight changes, or big changes for me, that I started making to help me to get to where I am today. But there was still something missing, okay? For example, I was just eating chicken breast, but not knowing what's the right portion for me was a big problem, you know what I mean? Because I may sit there and think, 8, 9 ounces of chicken is great, but that's not the case. So I know I definitely needed more help, and I was thinking about a dietitian and nutritionist. Before I even get to that point, I decided to share my journey, and I started my blog, which is robgweightlossjourney.blogspot.com.net, .org, it was the longest URL in history. But it was amazing. I didn't realize I had so many people out there like you guys that are following my blog that just cared about me. I mean, almost overnight, I had like 20 followers, then 25, then 30, and it just kept adding up. And I just didn't realize the impact that I had on people just by treating them with respect each and every day and trying to make their day. And, I definitely thank my mother Carmen, for instilling those values in me. Treat everybody like gold. Treat people the way you want to be treated. So, I was very blessed to have a great upbringing with, my mom and my brother. So I was just very blessed. And I have a great family of cousins and uncles that all share those values. So, anyway, I just really said, I'm going to start sharing my message. And I started sending my blog out to people, and then a friend of mine, Carlos Hernandez, who is my partner in my new venture called My Potential Seminars, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But he decided to, he recommended, he said, dude, people are not going to follow you if your URL is about, and when I say URL, that's my web address. If your web address, robgweightlossjourney.blogspot.com, is that long, people are not going to remember it. So he recommended that I go to GoDaddy.com, and I registered my domain, and I got the package, and RobGWeightLoss.com was born. And believe me, it was a hit. I mean, it allowed me to continue reporting my daily journey to everyone, but it was just easy, RobGWeightLoss.com. So then I had my friend Chanel, and I'll give her this credit. She recommended that I share it with, say, the local news stations, because I sent it to The Biggest Loser and these other big weight loss show programs, but didn't hear anything back. But she suggested I maybe share the story to inspire others in South Florida with the local news station. So I said, what the heck, fine, I'll send it. Obviously I wasn't taking it serious. I didn't think, anyone was going to respond. I mean, there's so many obese people out there. I know I'm not the only one. I'm not the biggest whatsoever, but I did it, and what have you, they call my bluff. NBC here in local West Palm area called me, Rochelle, and Rochelle called me, and she said they liked the story, and they wanted to report because it was such a big number. This guy wants to lose 300 pounds, and that's a big number to want to lose. So they came over, they did the interview, and it was fantastic. I mean, it went well. I just spoke from my heart. I was talking about things like, eating myself to death, and I don't want to, I don't want to run across the street and, not be able to chase my kid down or something because, my wife and I are ready to start a family. So they did the newscast and put it out there for South Florida, and wow, overnight, so many emails, so much, just so much attention, and just in a real positive way for people that were behind me. And I think the fact that I failed every diet, I even failed the lap band, right? You get the surgery and you think that's it. I failed that too because I wasn't addressing the mental aspect of this journey. So right after that, the Sun Sentinel saw the story in the news, and Rebecca from Sun Sentinel called me and said she wants to do the story. So they did the story on me, and Rebecca is awesome, and her photographer Jim, they came over, and they did a video on some of my cooking. I have a passion for cooking, and now it's cooking healthy food versus fried food. And then from there, CBS News caught on, and they saw the stories, and Suzanne Doyle reached out to me, and she said, hey, I love your story. We'd like to also share your story with South Florida. So now all this media, I'm through Facebook, I'm through Twitter, I have my online blog, now I have the